Most people think that success in real estate comes from rates, numbers, or timing the market. That's a lie.
The truth is, this business is built on people, on who trusts you, who remembers you, and who picks up the phone when it matters. Today's guest didn't inherit an empire or stumble into success. She built it relationship by relationship, deal by deal, decision by decision.
From moving up inside the mortgage industry to creating the powerhouse that is Hawkins Home Loans, Lori Hawkins is proof that relationships are not the soft part of this business. They are the strategy.
If you think relationships are optional, this episode might make you uncomfortable. And that's exactly why you should listen. Welcome to Realty Check, the podcast about the real lives of agents, lenders, and moms who do it all.
We're here for the honest conversations behind the business, the family, and everything in between. Let's get into it.
All right, we are back for another week. I am Amanda Freeman, your Sacramento realtor.
And hey, what's up? This is Lenny Lopez, your resident loan officer. Today, we have a special guest. I know I've mentioned her quite a few times on this podcast already from the very few episodes we've had, but we have Lori Hawkins with us. She is the broker of Hawkins Home Loans, and she is here to kind of lead us into how she got into all of this.
All right. Welcome. Now, you're our first guest, so This is very exciting for us. And the way that we start this podcast is we do something we like to call thriving or crying. And how is your week going? So, Lenny, do you want to go first? How's your week going? Here,
sure.
You hold it.
So, my week's been pretty good, but I am a little bit crying right now because I just went to the vet this morning. I have to take my luxury dog. I say luxury as a joke because I got him from Pups and Pals Rescue in Modesto, California, and he is supposed to be a mutt who can be invincible to everything. But instead of that, what I have is a dog who's allergic to truly everything. I got an allergy test done earlier this year. He's allergic to beef, chicken, pork, rabbit, duck. Awesome. He's allergic to wheat. He's allergic to eggs. He's allergic to milk. He's allergic to all grasses. I mean,
what does this dog eat?
He eats.
What can he?
He can eat a grain-free fish diet.
Oh.
And on top of that,
bougie.
That's what I'm saying. This is my luxury dog. And on top of that, every 6 weeks, I have to take him to get an allergy shot. So, and that is not cheap. It's $100 and something each time. So I am a little bit crying because I spend so much. I love him.
Yes.
This is really expensive.
Yes, that's a lot. Yeah.
Also, it is just a lot. Anyhow, that is my moment. Amanda, what about you? Are you crying or are you thriving?
I think I would say I'm thriving, actually. Ooh. So I was in the best shape of my life between children. So between Jackson and Maya, I was in the best shape of my life. When I got pregnant with Maya, I was doing home workouts and I had to stop because I was starting to get contractions. Like I just didn't. I had to stop pretty early on in the pregnancy, and I have not worked out since then. Which my little girl is 4 years old. So it's been 5 years. I'm a little out of shape. And so my thriving is that I last week got the Aura ring to track my health. And yesterday I signed up for the gym and I went for the first time.
Yay!
Look at that. And it felt really good. Today I have that good soreness of just feeling accomplished and feeling really good about it. So yeah, I'm thriving today.
I'm stoked for you. You are focusing on Amanda this year. You are choosing Amanda.
Hell yeah, I am. Lori, how about you? Do you have a crying or thriving this week?
I think we were due thriving. I met with my one of my older daughters, and she has a daughter who'll be turning 7 in a couple weeks, and so we booked a cabin in Tahoe. So we're going to go up and have a snow day, and then we actually decided to keep the cabin a day longer and just stay for the Super Bowl. So we're going to stay and watch the Super Bowl at the cabin. Yeah,
is it going to be everyone, the whole family?
No, all the 6. We have 8 grandkids, and a niece, and they're all 6, 7 years old. Yeah, I said 6,
all the
7.
6, 6, 7. Jackson, he'll come home at any time. He'll look at me. He'll give me a sideways look. What did you say, Mom?
Yeah. So that should be fun. So that'll be fun for our trip.
And wonderful chaos.
And if you're not watching the video, Lori does not look anywhere near old enough to have 8 grandchildren. So
thank you.
She looks phenomenal. Thank you. You can pay me later. For
okay, yeah.
So, today, Lori, we would love to hear your story. Just Lenny has shared little tidbits on the podcast about your story, and you just have an incredible story. I don't know how. So we just wanted to bring you on and have you share. Lenny's mentioned that you started at a very young age, and now you've built essentially an empire. And so let's get into it.
Yeah. So when I was homeschooled at first, so I was working for a neighbor around the corner from our church, and I was babysitting his kids since I was like 10. And then he opened a payroll business. And I started doing data entry for the payroll business. And then when I was 15, that same family moved to Sacramento, and I graduated high school at 15. And so he was like, oh, do you want to come to work for me in my mortgage business? And I'm like, sure. Didn't know what a mortgage was at 15,
Where were you home based?
Stockton.
Okay.
Stockton,
so at 15, we're talking about moving from Stockton
to Sacramento to work with this family. Yeah. And so it was funny because the first day I was there, my mom called me and she said, what are you doing? What kind of loans are you doing? And I looked, and at that time, GM and Ford were big lenders in the mortgage business. And so on the board, it said GM and Ford. I go, I think we're doing car loans, Mom. So the first day at work, I thought I was doing car loans.
I love that.
I mean, that's a great assumption though.
Yeah, right.
GM and Ford.
Right. Yeah. And then obviously I just learned the business to be through his assistant and processing. And he had a small brokerage like I do. It was just him and me and then a couple other loan officers. The first month I started, rates went into single digits. So prior to that, rates were above 10%. And I remember the first day they were like, rates are 9.99, single digit rates. And I'm like, this seems like a really good thing. I was like, So I kind of just learned through osmosis of being in the office and just figured it out because there was nobody there to really train me or anything besides the broker. And he was just, he was a little crazy, but was a great person to learn under.
And it sounds very similar to what we're experiencing right now. As of this recording, the rates have dropped below 6, and it's like a frenzy.
Yes,
so it sounds like that was probably what was happening.
Exactly, yeah, because that was kind of after the savings and loan thing. So people had, double-digit rates and everything. So then it was like, oh, we can refinance. We started out originally. We were doing second mortgages with the money store when it was the money store building. That's who we were. The big thing we were doing because people had equity, so we were doing a lot of seconds. Wow. But so that morphed into me being his processor for a couple of years.
Can you? So we have a lot of people who watch who maybe are not in the real estate realm, and so can you? As you talk about being a processor, being a broker, can you break it down for us a little bit of what is the process that a lender does? And this could also be another episode. But just maybe a very brief, hey, this is the process for a loan.
Yeah, definitely. So being a processor, you're pretty much the go-between with the loan officer, the lender you're sending the loan to, and the client. Okay. So in our case, Jonathan, broker, he was a broker. He was the sales guy. So he was doing all the sales. He was bringing in the clients and doing that, taking the original application and then you hand it off to your processor. And your processor...
Your internal.
Yes, your internal processor. And that's the person who makes sure if we need another pay stub or get a verification of employment. So back then, so in our industry, if you've been in the business long enough, we say handwritten application, which means it's your upfront application because you would do a handwritten one and then you would type one on a typewriter.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so that's why we always say handwritten. So he would take the handwritten application, which now we don't even have anything on paper. Everything's
we have one. Yes, we know one loan officer that will still do a handwritten.
Yes, yeah. And then we got a fax machine. So then it was really exciting. We were doing major business, once we got that fax machine. So that's kind of what the processor does is follows the process through, making sure everyone's doing their job. And that's kind of what I tell when I train people in the past to be a processor. I'm like, your job is to make sure everyone's doing their job on time. Everything's happening on time, kind of like a transaction coordinator on the real estate side, but the processor is on the mortgage side.
But also kind of working like goalie. They're making sure that things that don't need to get sent over are being sent over, right? Because in our industry, sometimes too much information is too much information.
Right.
So the processor makes sure that doesn't happen.
You don't need a bank statement in your file, why put one in there and potentially come up with, now we have to explain some other charge on the bank statement or so anything happened, or maybe they moved some money around or someone gave them some cash and now you have to go back and explain that and document it. So, we used to call, when we had FHA loans in the back, we would literally package them up and we have a case number. So it's a case. So I always look at it as a processor, you're putting this case together to present on behalf of your borrower to get the best loan for them and make the loan as smooth as process as possible. I have a shirt that says, I'm a loan officer. I solve problems you didn't even know you had.
Yeah, I love that.
just kind of learned by osmosis there.
Is that pretty typical, the progression in the loan industry to like be an assistant, if you will, and then move into processor?
Mm-hmm.
Is that?
Yeah, process. And then so depending if you want to be on the admin side or the sales side, after processing, your next goal would be like a underwriter or a manager, that type of thing.
Okay.
Or some people are in processing and they're like, hey, I want to make the money on the sales side. So then they go to the sales side. So I never saw myself being a salesperson on the sales side. My husband always goes, you're, a great salesperson. And I'm like, I'm not a salesperson. I help people. I educate them. I mean, because I just think of like sleazy car sales guy when you say sales. So that's why I'm like, no, I don't want to be called that.
It was like our episode 3 where we were talking about branding and the way that it's more about who you are, taking who you are and putting it out into the world.
Yep,
so,
exactly. Yeah. And I'm also very detailed. So I really liked the processing side. I liked that. And I eventually worked at several different companies over the years and then got into underwriting. So I went to this, after there, I worked at another place in Stockton, met a lady there who ended up being one of my best friends, and her and another lady opened a brokerage. And so I worked for the two of them. And it was perfect because I had my kids young. And so at this point, I'm like 20 and get pregnant with my first child. And then I go to work for them as soon as I have my first child, get pregnant with my second child. And they would like let me have my kid in the office in the walker, or, like if my husband was getting off work at 3 and we just had a transfer real quick or something like that. And it was a great situation to have the two girls working with them. And they were moms too, so they were really special. I really enjoyed working for them.
Do you feel like having women in leadership roles early on in your career helped you become who you are?
Yeah, yep, definitely. So what's interesting is it was very rare for women to be on the sales side back then. The salespeople were always men and the women were always doing the underwriting admin. It was just that way. Yeah. It's not that way at all anymore now, but it really was odd to work for two women. Before there, I worked for a large mortgage company in Pleasanton, and there was a lady there, and her name was Lene, and actually my daughter's middle name is Lene, named after her. This lady, I was 18 at this point, brought me in and just literally would sit with me for hours and go through every document, go through a title report and explain every line and what it means and why it's called this and what.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. Then we did an appraisal. We went through an appraisal, every single line. And I think that's where I kind of got the bug that I wanted to be an underwriter.
Yeah.
So then I got, after having my kids and everything, there was a mortgage. I was back in Stockton at this point, So there's a mortgage company there, Heritage Mortgage, and it was family owned, but it probably had a staff of like 30 people or so. And when I went there, I met this other loan officer lady, and she changed and went to Guild, and she was going to steal me and take me with her. And so it was funny because like back then our salary was like $2,500, which was a lot for a process, and then so much per file. Yeah. So she offered me to go with her to Guild, and she offered me $4,000 a month, which is like doubling your pay package at that point, And so it was huge. And I was like, yeah. And I really liked her. I was like, yeah, I'll go with you, So I went back to the owners of the company, and they're like, no, you're staying. We'll match that pay. So they matched the pay, and they said, but in order to do that, we're going to have to train you to be an underwriter. And so, okay, right?
Twist my arm.
Yeah. So they paid for all my classes, all my training to become I was FHA, VA, everything. So fully approved to underwrite. And I'm like 23 or 24. It's just,
That's amazing.
Yeah. But what was cool there is because it was a smaller company, we got to underwrite, I got to draw docs, I got to fund. So I literally got to learn every side, selling the loans to the bank afterwards, insuring, everything. So my career really took off from that place because they exposed me to every side.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah, exactly. And they trusted me and let me, learn everything and do everything. They were really cool. They were a really cool family.
That's awesome.
So then.
And that was Heritage? Is that
Heritage, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are they still around?
Nope, they're not. Nope. So what's funny is office politics. So there was a manager there that didn't like me. And so she was always trying to, and that's actually my best friend Monica, when we worked at Heritage. We started the same day and our chairs were back to back. We both couldn't back up at the same time. That's how small our cubicle was.
Oh my gosh.
And now we've been best friends for 30 years or whatever. But she would always try and pit us against. It was just a messy, the manager was messy. But she had the owners bamboozled, like, she was running everything, and we were like, no, she's, but whenever she'd be out, the owner would call me and go, so tell me what's really going on, So the owners really, I really liked the owners. It was just her. But, so she ended up, they I was supposed to go to, talking about being a mom in the industry, it was my daughter's kindergarten graduation. And the manager was off that day. And I said, I need the time off to go to my daughter's graduation. And they were like, no, you have to be here. You're the only one here that knows how to do everything. So you have to be. And I was like, no, I'm not missing my daughter's graduation. No. Right. And so I'm like, I'm going, so I went to it. So I came in that next day and I was typing my resignation letter. And so I came in early to type it and hand it to her. And they had locked me out of the computer. So she talked them into letting me go. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was so funny, but there's a great ending to the story. So I go back to work for Jonathan, the guy, the original guy, and he set me up working in my home. So now I have just going through a divorce. I'm a single mom with two young kids, they're 4 years old. Yeah. And I get to work at home when working at home wasn't even a thing, So he got my copier, set me up with a big copier, everything in my house, and I was able to work from home. And so then I accidentally started a processing business. I seen a couple guys that I knew from a business before, and they're like, hey, will you do my loans on the side, And then they were paying me like $500 a loan, which was unbelievable. So my first month, I made $10,000 processing on the side, but I was still working for the other guy. And then I was really just going to do like a file here or there. And so he calls me and he goes, Lori, I know you're working on the side. He goes, just give me the same deal. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I was like, can I keep the copier? I'm like, as long as I can keep the copier. So he's like, I don't want that copier. So it morphed into me just having my business.
Wow. And this is before contract processing was
even a thing. It wasn't a thing. No, there was no one even knew what it was or what it was called or anything like that.
And what year was this around?
2000.
Okay.
2000, yeah. And so then I had the processing business. And at one point we were closing 60 loans a month. I had all my high school friends working with me, and the kids would be playing outside in the summer swimming. And we had my whole living room had like 6 desks, and we were just pumping out loans. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So, I have all my friends or their kids, they were just running around the house. So that was
moms
really cool.
Moms.
Yeah. And the thing is, what's unique about that experience is people don't usually go processing, underwriting, processing. That would be like a step down.
Yeah.
But I was running my own business, and I could advertise myself that you have a processor who's an underwriter.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look at the file like an underwriter, not a processor.
I love that. So that's cool.
I think that was a big part of helped with my success of the processing business. Processing was huge. Then I opened a branch with American Pacific Mortgage. Okay. And at that point, I had moved here already. I think, I was in West Sacramento.
To open up a branch?
So that's when the market changed. In 2008 when everything changed. Yeah. So in 2008, I moved here in 2005, and I was still doing the processing out of my home to West Sacramento. When I say here is West Sacramento. And then in 2008, when the market crashed, it was harder for people to broker, especially government loans.
Wow.
So what I did was I went and opened a branch, and then my loan officers who I was processing for came to work under me at my branch. So now I had a branch here and one in Stockton. So
you flipped everything on its head every time. Yeah.
Well, I joke, I'm like, I don't know how to do anything. I've literally done this since I was 15. I literally don't know how to do anything else. It has to work. I have to make this work. I did work at a yoga shop for a little bit, but I'm not really back to that. So then I had my branch, and then eventually got back into going back to the broker side. It came kind of when the market calmed down from the crash. It was easier to go back to being a broker. And I love being a broker. I love having the freedom. American Pacific was a great company to work for and helped me with my branch and the people we had. But I really enjoy the broker side better.
Yeah.
And the difference of that is when you work for a specific mortgage company that funds the loans, you have to send your loans to them.
Okay.
So I couldn't broker out. Now I have access under Hawkins. I have access to 100 different companies or more if I wanted to. And I can go, oh, this place has better rates today. Oh, this one has better service, or this one gives the customer this or that, so we can kind of pick
more
and choose, more catered and pick and choose. And also have access to more programs because if the specific bank you're working at doesn't have that program, then you can't do it if with one company. So
and that's something that we've talked about in the past regarding after the market crash in the in the 2000s. What I really liked about you and your resilience is that at a time when things were quote unquote harder and people were leaving the industry, you said, no, there's a niche that people are missing.
Yeah.
And you were like, there are programs. It might be harder.
Yeah.
It might be harder, but I can make it work.
Yep.
And I think that's something that I've really liked about you. And like what I've grabbed from you is that even during quote unquote hard times, I mean, let's look at 2022 or 2022 when rates went up to 8%.
Yeah.
I mean, instead of leaving the industry, I got to learn from you, and I got to learn how to be creative with financing, and I got to stay in the industry.
Right.
And so
Yeah, it's when a lot of people do end up having to leave the business, or some people will just come and ride the ebbs and flows, you know?
Sure.
I've never felt that way. This is my career.
Yeah.
It's, it's like my, church, family, mortgage, like that's,
Yeah.
I mean, I love my business and I love what I do to help people, and it's rewarding.
What year did you open Hawkins Home Loans?
So let's see, 2019.
'Cause you went Mid-Valley.
Yeah. So after American Pacific Mortgage, I went back to the broker side, but I was working under Mid-Valley.
Okay.
So we were still brokering, but we hadn't gone with Hawkins yet.
Okay.
So the funny thing is I took my real estate classes when I was in high school. When I should have been in high school, I was at the college taking real estate classes. But then I never got my license until 2008 when I had to open the branch.
Okay.
Yeah. So all that time I was processing and underwriting. I didn't need a license at that time.
Yeah.
Now laws have changed, but at that time I didn't. And so, yeah. So yeah, it's kind of crazy how it works out.
And you had 2 girls
Yes.
during all of this time.
Yeah.
And they, I mean, we talked about it before, but they had front row seat to everything,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
They had the backseat education.
Yeah, like we call it the car seat education. Yeah. So yeah, they were when the phone rang, be quiet. Mom's on the phone, and the mom's put on her work voice, be quiet. There was a client. But yeah, it was great. And then even for a while, we had foster kids. We had so I had one point I had 9 kids in my house as a single mom.
Yeah.
And running the business, but
And on top of that, I mean, I know your girls, and I mean, they're women now.
Yes.
I know your daughters, and they are ambitious.
Mhm.
They are driven.
Yeah.
And I think, and I hope, having my child now watch me live my
Mhm.
life and be a self-employed single mom, I hope that he's seen that drive and ambition that I have, and it pushes him to have that same spark, right?
Yep. When I was first starting my processing business, not first starting, but when it was getting big, it was getting pretty big. And that's when I had all the friends working for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad. Like, look, it's the summer. My kid's in the pool. I'm in here working. There was days I would work like 20-hour days. And I feel so guilty. And my friend was like, what do you feel guilty about? Look what you're showing your daughters.
Yeah.
Like, you're showing them how to build a business, how to take care of work and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, I didn't look at it that way. Instead, I just went with mom guilt. I think is where we
So
turn.
easy
Yeah.
default.
Easy default. And I was like, no, actually. And now they're both, my daughters that watched us grow up and they're watching us do mortgages and work hard.
And now your granddaughters are as well.
Yeah.
Your granddaughters, they make the cutest videos sometimes. They will literally pretend like they are little loan officers and things like that.
Like, if you need a mortgage, call my grandma.
Yeah. And I mean, even for me, right? Like, there's moments that I'm telling you where I have mom guilt and you are looking at me sideways.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then, just having you in my corner reminding me, and I mean, we do the same thing to each other as well. Like, I'll be like, oh, well, I'm doing this. And she's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Or my child's seen all of this.
Yeah.
And so I think it's great. And I also really like that, you were someone who had people help you out or give you a chance. And you're someone that does the same exact thing. You've done that throughout my entire time knowing you.
Yeah. And I think, when I opened the processing business originally, it was for the freedom with having the 2 girls, and being a single mom. And this business has just allowed me so much freedom where I've never had to miss a basketball game. I've never had I went on every field trip. I'm still working. I might be on the phone when I'm there, but I didn't have to miss anything. So
it's exactly in our second episode of running a business as a primary parent. That's exactly what we talked about is like, and the flexibility. It doesn't mean that you're not working a lot. It just means that you get to be there for specific moments.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about this before, but when I thought about possibly wanting to get pregnant and trying, that's when I knew I wanted to get back into mortgage because I wanted to be someone in charge of my own schedule. Mm-hmm. I didn't like the idea of me getting off at 5 p.m. and not being able to volunteer at the school or help out. Right. And again, Lori will tell you, I probably sent her some emails in the middle of the night last night, but you know what? I'm getting work done on the time that works for me. Yeah. And that's something that I don't think I would be able to do. And honestly, and I've said it before, I don't think I could be as good of a mom if I had a different job. This is a career that I really enjoy doing and that I'm good at doing. And it gives me that flexibility. Yeah.
And it's not a 9 to 5. Man, people have asked me before, like, oh, is your husband okay with you? Hours you work? And I'm like, that was part of the deal. Like, that's, but I can be on vacation and work. We can, especially now with technology the way it is, you don't really take a vacation anymore.
Right. Right.
We're on the cruise ship and I'm like, hold on.
Home is where the Wi-Fi is.
Yeah.
As long as the VPN is working, we could be anywhere.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I was saying that's what the track I was saying was about. I actually took my classes to get my real estate license before you can't take your test until you're 18. So I had taken the classes, but then when I went the processing underwriting route, I was like, oh, I don't need my license. So, so I ended up getting it in 2008 when the market really changed. I had to get it so that I could have that branch and be the head of the branch and then have the other loan officers with me.
Which we should probably explain. So when you work in mortgage, in order to have your own brokerage, you actually have to have a real estate license, even if you're not doing real estate. And so you have to hold both of those licenses.
Yeah.
And
so you can also have your broker's license and then and your mortgage license. So you have to have both. But when you get a broker's license, we're at that level, you're the oversight. You don't have to have someone over you. But if you don't have a broker's license, then you have to be under somebody that, has one. So kind of train you, oversee you, make sure everything's compliant and that kind of stuff. So then I took my classes to get my broker's test, like way before, and then went to work with a very nice guy, Chuck. He took after I left American Pacific, I went back to the broker side. I had a branch under him. And he was just so supportive and he was so great. He knew connections everywhere, anything you needed, but he just recently passed away. Well, maybe a year, might be 2 years now. Time goes by fast.
I think it's been 3 years.
3 years, maybe.
Oh
wow. But I could tell his health was kind of deteriorating. And I was like, oh gosh, I have to get my broker's license because what happens is if he was to pass and I had my loans with him, I'm done. Business shuts down. So I was like, okay, but I was with him, I think 10 years. And so I told him in 2 years, I said, hey, in 2 years, I'm going to work on getting my broker's license. Got my broker's license, still didn't move for a little bit. And then we opened Hawkins eventually.
How common is it on the loan side to have these boutique brokerages? Because it sounds like you have pretty much, except for your stint at the bank, you've almost exclusively been with little boutique brokerages.
Yes, yeah.
Is that pretty common?
I think it's more common now. So let's say prior to 2008, it was common. And then 2008, it kind of became not common. What happened was when the crash came, they tried to blame it on brokers and said, oh, it's a broker's fault that everything crashed. And it's like, no, it's not how the market worked. Yeah. But anyways, that was the way the news wanted to spin it. So it became harder to be a broker at that point, reputation-wise even.
Yeah.
And then they changed everything with testing and licensing. And then we're legally now more MLOs, mortgage loan officers is what they want to call us. Because everyone's like, I'm a loan officer. Everyone had different titles, loan specialist, whatever you want to call yourself. So now we're officially all supposed to be, our title is mortgage loan officer. Unless you're the broker, then you can be the broker. Other than that, we're all supposed to have the same title. And then 2008, so it's funny because it was such a bad time. People lost houses. The market got really bad. But the business got better for me. Because I could do FHA loans, and that's a lot of what we did. It was first-time homebuyers or people who had lost their home and then needed to buy again after 2 years or 3 years. So I had that experience. So I was able to help a lot of people through that time with that.
You were also doing 203K, which is like the renovation style loans and things like that. So again, you got creative.
Yes, exactly. So,
you mentioned it, this is all you've done since you were 15 years old. And you have not left the industry. You've been in it. And in our industry, there are tons of ebbs and flows, right? So you obviously have that hustler mindset of being like, I got to make this work. But how did you keep your mentality up or stay positive or stay looking forward when you were going through these hard times and you did have 2 mouths to feed?
Yeah. So in 2008, what I was going to say is actually that kind of worked to my advantage. 2009 was like a huge year, even though everybody was crashing, I had a huge year. But not 90% of the people left the business because at one point up until 2008, you didn't even have, you just become a loan officer. You didn't even need a license. You just go to work under a company and so everybody was a loan officer. Yeah. And so at that point, I think it was 90% of the people either didn't pass the test, get the license. So it became more, less concentrated. And so there was more business for everybody who made it through. If you made it and survived, there was more business for you, which is kind of what we're seeing in our market right now for the last couple of years. People who just kind of jump in when rates are good, they've left. And so there's more.
What have we seen? Like 75% of people?
Some is crazy number. Yeah. So it's, now not to say that if rates drop really low, the people might jump back in, that happens, but, that's not how we work. We're in it for life.
Well, and you have created pretty much, I keep calling it empire, but that's what it is. And in the last 6-7 years now, 6-7.
Yeah.
So how did you create that? So like when you went off onto your own, obviously you've got a knack for it because when you were a processor, you had all your friends processing with you. But like, what is it like? I feel like
my secret sauce.
Yeah.
My secret sauce is relationship building. So I have another friend that we've been in the business about the same time. And I felt a little guilty because my career had advanced more. Yeah. And it was funny because she said, what do you mean? Why would you feel guilty about that? She goes, you've done things I've never been willing to do. She goes, I'm not going to all those meetings, doing all this stuff, just all the networking and relationship building. That's really the key. I mean, I have people I work with now that I've worked since 30 years ago that I still, work with them, and I've kept those relationships. So I'd have to say that that's really the key is the relationship building, and the relationships pay off in a long, it's a long game, right? It's not something that's like, oh, I'm going to get a deal from you tomorrow maybe, but just being solid and being who you are.
Yeah. And you build relationships with everyone. Like, let's look at John Friend. He was your appraiser.
Yes,
right?
He was my appraiser, and now he's a realtor that we do a lot of business with up in the
He has a great brokerage that he opened.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you weren't just seeing, like you said earlier, you weren't seeing an instantaneous transactional relationship. You were saying, this is someone who's good at their job. I want to invest in this relationship, and it's paid off.
Yep. And I think when the market slowed down in the last couple of years, we had to double down on relationships, right? Because whereas you might have had one realtor you were getting 10 deals from, maybe you get one deal from that realtor now just because the business has slowed down, not because they're not giving you the business, there's just no business to give you. Yeah. And so I think we had to double down on some of our relationships and regenerate those and, just make sure they were stronger and spend more time and investment with them. Yeah. I think that kind of saved us.
Yeah. So then I have another question. Okay. So the next episode after yours here that we're going to put out is on lead generation. Oh, okay. You're going to really deep dive into. It's already recorded actually. So we've already recorded that one. But what you're saying is exactly what we feel too, as far as lead generation, relationship building. But I know for you that you're involved in a lot of different communities and groups that help with that relationship building. Can you talk about some of the groups that you are a part of and what that definitely looks like and how long you've been?
Yeah. So church has always been a good source of business of me being able to help people, and I hate to say getting business, but it is. I mean, they get to know us. You have that relationship already and they trust you. So church has been huge. I've been able to help a lot of people from our church. I've gotten involved with the chamber. So I'm on the board of the church. I was on the board of the chamber. I just came off in December because my 6 months are up. I did my time. But I've been a member of the chamber here in West Sacramento for maybe 15 years now. Wow. And so that's really those relationships. Beyond that, I'm involved in a lot of nonprofits or community things. And I think the community stuff really helps build your name and reputation. And it's kind of just being out there and being at things. And, somehow I find a way to always mention I have a mortgage company, My husband jokes because you can get that in any conversation.
And this, my friends, is why me and Lori get along very well.
Yeah. You'll find out next week that Lenny has the revelation of the exact same kind.
But what I really like is that you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk, right? And so we like to go and help out, like you and I go and do credit building classes for people who are transitioning back into life post homelessness or post prison. And so, it's not like we're just doing that because that's, they're going to be a client of ours someday. That's not what we're doing it for. Right. We're doing it for because we actually want to help someone. And guess what? When people know that we're willing to help, they're more likely to call.
Yeah. So I love doing that. I love meeting with people. So we've done it like with foster kids coming out of foster program. Or we're like you're talking this other, it's a program here for homelessness or past drug addiction. Yeah, Mercy Coalition.
Oh, what is it?
Mosaic. Yeah. And so, just because it's scary. People don't know. And, I taught my kids about credit as they were teenagers, and we sat down and we pulled their credit and we went over their credit. Not everyone has that in their homes, right? And maybe the parents don't even know how to use credit correctly or whatever, so how do they teach their kids if they don't even know? So I love doing those type of classes and just sit and pull their credit report and sit there and explain everything to them, what it means, and then make a plan for them. And if they do the plan or not, that's on them. But at least they have a little more information and education now.
And you moved out when you were 17 or 16?
I moved out when I was 17.
Yeah, you moved out when you were 17. You had your own apartment at 17. Yeah. And so you didn't have someone in your ear telling you these things. So the fact that you're someone who's taken that information and said, oh, I pulled myself up from my bootstraps. You don't have to do it. I'm here to help you. I think is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think that's not something a lot of people have.
Yeah. I moved out at 17 because I was raised a Jehovah's Witness and I decided to leave that organization. And so with that, I got kicked out of my house and everything all at the same time. But what's interesting is that I was homeschooled because I was what was called a pioneer. I would go 60 to 90 hours a month knocking on doors, just looking for rejection, right? like literally like, okay.
So they trained you well.
They trained me well.
For mortgage.
My husband said, that's why you're so good at sales. You don't care about rejection. I was like, yeah, I've been training you, you know.
What is the saying you say? Some will, some won't.
Some will, some won't. So what? Yeah. So I'm like, some people, and not all business is my business, you know, it's okay. You know, it's what's mine, what's meant for me will be mine.
I have a question for you, Lenny.
Ooh.
So I'm curious how much, because you guys are so similar and we've talked about this before, right? And like the single-minded, like you guys share a brain. It's crazy. How much do you feel Lori influences that part of you, like that tenacity, and how much of it do you think that you guys just like clicked because you're similar personalities? Like, do you think you learned it from her or that you clicked because you're similar?
Well, that's really funny because actually we met through the Chamber of Commerce. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Like I said, I was before I was trying to find a mortgage company to work for, and I wasn't finding one that really fit what I wanted, and I needed a job. So I got hired at the Chamber of Commerce in their membership. And I'm someone who walks in and wants to fix everything. And so I'm making materials, I'm having grand opinions and just like not afraid to share it. And Lori was the sitting president at the time. And, in a meeting we met and we really vibed, and I ended up leaving the chamber. And a few months later, Lori called me. It was actually on Thanksgiving. She called me and was like, hey, can we have a meeting? Like, I want to get to know you.
Yeah. And
we were talking and she's like, well, I'd really like you to get into mortgage. Have you thought about going into mortgage? And I was like, as a matter of fact, I'm licensed.
Yeah. And I was like, what?
And so when I joined Lori's team, I saw this, like you said, empire. I saw this company and this empire that she'd created where there were so many working parents, and it was just all of us really grinding. And Lori was holding everyone to a standard that she wasn't just holding others, she was holding herself to as well. Even she held herself to an even higher standard. And just seeing her tenacity, I was like, that's me, but older and better. And I was like, how do I do that? And I was always afraid of being too much, quote unquote, my entire life. And Lori and I, it was probably early on in me working for you. You and I went and had lunch, and I told you that I was always afraid of being too much. And you were so angry. You looked angry, and you were like, no, don't ever say that again. Yeah. She's like, I want you to be too much.
Yeah.
And like
that's the other person's problem if you're too much.
Yeah, that's exactly what you said to me. And so, because, there's sometimes people that you work with might see you as competition rather than as someone to uplift each other. I grew up playing sports, so I'm really big about healthy competition. Like, if you're better than me, I'm not angry at you, I'm angry at myself.
Yeah.
And some people don't have that mindset. And so I've always been kind of concerned, but Lori was not about that. She was like, no, you continue hustling, you continue being you, and it's going to work out. And Lori and I are very similar. It's very funny. Clients on the phone will sometimes get us confused.
Same our name, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's Lenny and Lori. Yeah. And then somehow on the phone, we sound very similar.
We just roll with it. We're like,
I mean, who am I to, tell them otherwise? But yeah, I think that meeting her outside of working for her, seeing how great she was, and then her also liking me, it was symbiotic. Yeah. And
I think it's kind of both. To your question, I think it's both. Nurture. It's a combination of we were attracted, we liked each other. What's the word? We were drawn to each other. Yeah. Because we had so much similarities.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I joined you in 2020 and been with you since. And truly, when I have an opinion, Lori doesn't brush me off. She truly wants to hear my opinion, and same the other way around. I mean, I don't feel like that's the same in a lot of other brokerages where you can have that direct contact with the broker and have them listen to what your thought is. But Lori and I will have brainstorming sessions, and she takes what I say to heart. And when I have an idea and she knows it's not going to work out, she doesn't say no. She says no, and this is why. And so, I I think that's what pushes me. And we are very similar. I think that we were naturally similar, but also seeing how she does things and how her secret sauce really works is what drew me to continue doing that and fostering those relationships. So,
okay, but next question, are you guys hiring? Because I know people are going to listen and they're going to be like, I want to be a part of that magic.
So we're always looking for loan officers, you know, if it's a good fit. We're not just like recruiting, like we don't just need to grow a team.
It has to be,
it has to be a good fit. Right. Exactly. So if there's someone's out here, a loan officer or interested in becoming a loan officer, we actually have a training program we can help people with.
What does that look like?
Yeah, so the training program, essentially it will help you get your licensing. So there's a certain amount of hours of education you have to do, a test you have to pass, and they'll help you do that. And then thereafter, it goes into a briefing of like what actually is a loan officer, because spoiler, the classes and the education you get are not the actual things you're going to be doing in the future.
Right.
So going into a briefing of like what is sales or what is processing. And honestly, I feel like if you are going to be in sales, you should have some understanding of processing. I think that's something that will make you better in general. And then, when it comes to joining possibly our team or another team, you have to make sure it's mutually beneficial, right? And so Lori and I are people who are very driven. We hold ourselves to higher standards. And so we're totally happy with green people, but there has to be green with drive, right?
Yeah. Well, yes, it's kind of like how I said, this is my career. Like I have never stopped learning. I still do classes. I still go to trainings. And that's important to do no matter what, and no matter what career you choose. But in the mortgage, it's really important because things change so much. And so you have to really keep up on things. And then also investing in yourself to remember those things, keep notes on those things, really, so you can help your clients. It's the best way you can help your clients.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm so stoked that all of you got to meet Lori. I know I've talked to her about her a ton, and I'm going to continue talking about her a ton. I'm like mold; she can't get rid of me at this point.
Nice, Lenny. Nice.
But if people want to find out more about you, Lori, where should they look?
Social media. We got a lot on social media.
She does great social media. They're very funny sometimes.
Yeah, my daughter does social media. She does a good job. So social media, or we have a website, hawkinshomeloans.com.
What's your handle for social media? Do you know? Off the top of your head?
Nope. I think it's Lori Dawn Lackey Hawkins.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yes, that's what we'll do. We'll put it in the show notes for sure. And we'll, if you follow us on Instagram, we'll also tag her in our
clip of the episode.
Yes, exactly. So that you guys can find her and follow her. Truly, whether you are looking at being in mortgage or in real estate or just being a working parent in general, I think Lori is someone to look into. Sometimes she'll go and talk at things, and I think it's great to hear her. I mean, I've known her for this long, and even today, I love rehearing her story. I feel like I get something new from it every time, and I hope you guys did too. This is fun.
This was wonderful.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for being here. All right, you guys. Next week we'll talk more about lead generation and build on the conversation on relationship building.
Thanks so much. We'll see y'all then.
That's Realty Check.
Real lives, real estate, and the conversations most people do not want to have.
We'll talk soon.